East Idaho Newsmakers is brought to you by the Bank of Commerce, your bank of a lifetime.
This is East Idaho Newsmakers with Nate Eaton.
Welcome to East Idaho Newsmakers. Today we are on location in a beautiful hotel conference room.
Yeah.
We are pleased to have Oz Pearlman here with us. You've probably seen him on America's Got Talent in season 10. He placed third overall. He's also been on Late Night with Jimmy Fallon, The Today Show, The Meredith Vieira Show. I think you've been on The Today Show over 20 times,
Yeah,
right?
that's true, yeah.
And all sorts of shows, so we're pleased to have him here in East Idaho.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me on, Nate.
So how do you describe yourself and what you do?
I'm known as a mentalist. So it's kind of like a subset specialty within the world of magic. Most people can visualize a magician. You think to yourself, oh, sleight of hand. Pick a card, I'll find it, right? My profession doesn't involve props. I don't really have anything that I bring with me. I could show up and do a show today, which I'm doing for 1,500 people, and I will look like this when I go on stage. The show is all about knowing how people behave, knowing their decisions, finding out the power of suggestion, how to see what people will react to certain things. So it gives the appearance of mind reading, but I don't have any supernatural powers.
And coming up in just a few minutes, he's going to do some of these tricks. I hate to call them tricks because that sounds cheesy.
It sounds like a trick. It's not really as much of a trick because a trick generally indicates that I'm going to do something, I'm going to fool you, and then at the end you're going to try to guess how it worked. There's no real, most of the time when I do it, we work together, you're going to think of something, and I can't do it if you don't want me to, if that makes sense. It's similar to hypnosis. If you say you're never going to pull this off on me, most of the time you're right. But what I do is kind of build rapport, and then we're able to try it out.
You're a young guy.
Thanks.
How old
Whoa.
are you? Can I ask?
Hey, 35.
35 years old. All right. So how did you get started in this to the point that now you're traveling the world doing these shows?
Well, I started as a teenager. That's when I picked up magic. First time I ever saw a magician, I was 13 on a cruise ship. It's like a big present for my bar mitzvah where we went on a cruise. Had never, ever seen a magician before live. And was blown away. I got home, I checked out every book in the library, I went to Borders, which still existed at the time, throwback, and then bought every book and just started studying, started learning how to do magic, how to do sleight of hand, coin tricks, card tricks, rope tricks. Got my first gig at age 14 at a restaurant, right down the street, I could walk there.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you get a gig at a restaurant, you start performing magic there, what, a couple nights a week or a couple times a month? Or?
I think it was once a week.
Once a week. And then how do you get from there to America's Got Talent?
Long road. So first off, went to high school, went to college, studied electrical engineering in college, if you could believe it, went to work on Wall Street, was doing this on the side. So this was always my side hustle. This was supplementary income. This was my passion. This is kind of just a great way for me to network. Anywhere I went, this is how you know me. It was the guy who was doing magic and mind reading. And as it grew, kind of think of it as a snowball going down a hill. As more and more people heard about me and got a little more well known, I ended up quitting my job in 2005.
You quit your job on Wall Street?
Quit my job. Yeah.
To do this full time?
Full time, exactly.
And that was what, right before it tanked? So the timing could have been...
Before it tanked,
before the dive.
It might have been a different story if it had happened 3 or 4 years later.
You're right.
Right? Timing is everything in life.
And you got ahead of it.
Well, I also thought in my head that what's the worst case scenario? If I can't pull this off in a year, give yourself a timeline, I'll go back and try to get another job, right? Versus if it was during the end of the world scenario in 2009, I might have just stuck with the job.
Yeah, good point.
Everything in life is timing.
So you're doing these gigs on the side, you're working full time. At what point do you decide and get the courage to pull the trigger and say, I'm going to leave this behind and do this?
You know, it's one of those things where you can't really go into a pool and go swimming if you just dip your toes in. And I needed to be hungry. So when you've got a steady paycheck, it's a very good problem to have. But when you have a steady paycheck and you're doing this on the side, you never really push it to the next level. So at the time, I wasn't married, no kids. There was really, end of the day, I had some money saved up where I said to myself, if I can't pull this off, then I have an exit strategy. But I've got to go for it. And what preempted it, one of the kind of well-known stories with me is I was doing something for the CFO of my company. Huge company, 50,000 employees. He doesn't know who I am. The event planner within the company knew me and hired me. And I did a magic trick where I turned $1 bills into hundreds. And the guy goes, incredible, he said, we got to get you working here. And all the other people start laughing. And I go, I do work here. And he thinks I'm joking. And he goes, well, what do you mean? And I go, no, seriously, I work in your GTS department. And he goes, what the hell are you doing working here, mate? He's an Australian guy. And I was like, well, what am I doing working here? It's kind of, when somebody at the top says to you, well, what are you doing working here? It was kind of like
a wake-up call.
It's just that little splinter that gets in the back of your head, and the next day you go into work at 8 a.m. and you go, what was he, you need someone to emulate. Most of the time when you see someone that you admire and you look up to and they're making something happen as a mentor, you say, well, wow, I could do that too. Until you get that courage and you really think and believe somebody else is doing it, so I could do it, I just didn't think it was a real option to go full time. It seemed too outlandish.
Wow. Okay. So the CFO of your company says, "What are you doing working here?"
Jokingly. It wasn't, it was like in the moment. Yeah.
Like, hey, why are you working here? You decide that's kind of your nudge, I guess.
Within 2 months, I was out. Yeah.
And have you talked to him?
It's funny enough. So he's very well known. He's the CEO of a different big company now. I think he would never remember the story. I can't imagine. But I've definitely seen him at other events, but never had a moment to sit down and be like, you know what? You were one of the people who, if you added this plus this plus this, all combined to me pursuing my dream.
That's awesome. Because I know there's people watching that think, I want to do that. I'm so busy over here and it's my passion, but I just have to go to work to do it. And they're just nervous to make that jump.
Well, listen, especially if you have kids, you have bills, you have a million other things, all those things combined make it challenging, but there's always going to be roadblocks. It's more of a matter of how do you build to a certain level. I didn't just leave my job willy-nilly. I had kind of a plan in place and a fallback, if you will, where I said, if this doesn't work, but until I had that forcing myself to, day one of quitting the job, I'm like, oh, is the phone gonna ring? Like twiddling your thumbs, nobody's gonna make it happen, especially in entertainment or any business. You have to go out there and make it happen. So I was working my butt off from day one. I worked at a bunch of restaurants. I would go out and network with event planners. I mean, I had kind of a rhythm to meeting people and getting very well known in New York.
So 2005, you quit the job, you do this full time. 5 years later, right, 5 years, you go on America's Got Talent.
No,
2010?
no, 10 years later.
10 years later,
yeah.
Oh wow. So you're doing...
It takes 10 years to become an overnight success.
Yeah, right, okay. So is this one of those things where they saw you, like producers, and said, we want him, or did you apply?
So funny enough, yes, that's what they had said 3 years before I got on the show. So I got a producer call, which is more of the fancy roll out the red carpet type of thing. You show up, like an appointment. Come on in, meet them. So I did that first one. For numerous reasons, it did not go well. Mostly not my own doing, just the dynamic of the situation was me in a room with a camera person, and I'm doing a mind reading show, and there's no one else. So I go, whose mind am I gonna read? It's like a comedian walking in the room and be like, tell some jokes, and no one's laughing.
Oh, yeah.
Only mine, it's even worse, because I can't do mind reading to myself. I can't hold a mirror and be like, you're thinking of the number 12. So it didn't go well. And honestly, that was a blessing in disguise, because those 3 more years that I had, every year I probably did about 180, 200 plus shows. That just builds up your confidence, your experience for bigger crowds. And when I went in next time, I was very prepared. And I went in next time, open casting call. Thousands and thousands of people. We're talking like a pier in New York where you can't even see. It's like 2 football fields where the end is.
And they all have a variety of talents.
Some do and some don't.
Well, they all think they have a variety of talents.
Oh man, yeah, that's a whole nother story. But yeah, it's characters. There's just so many people in there, and that's what makes the show so endearing to America, because you've got a 6-year-old kid that can sing like an unbelievable. You've got a 95-year-old woman that thinks she's the best ballroom dancer. It's just character. It's amazing. And I went in there, did my thing. They liked it, and then.
Were you nervous?
No. Because I had zero expectations. I really did not think I was going to get on, and if I did get on, I didn't really. It's the best expectations when you go into something you don't really care, and that shows. Honestly, I went in there like I owned the place because I didn't care. I swear I'm not saying that. I just thought, well, what does it matter if I do, if I don't? If you put the pressure on, you can tell the tension. I went in there so confident because I had nothing to lose.
Oh, that's cool. So you audition, and then do they say, we want you on the show?
So correct. Then they bring you in, and then you do a real thing, which is televised. That's the part where you go in front of the 4 judges that everybody knows. At the time it was Howard Stern, Howie Mandel, Mel B, Heidi Klum. Now they swapped out. Howard Stern's gone. It's Simon Cowell.
Yeah. And you had never met those judges before.
Never.
You go to the stage cold. They don't know what you're going to do.
Correct.
And then how do you decide which mind reading elements?
It's usually the same one you did in your audition initially.
So they want you to do that same one.
Yeah, it's the audition you do for the producers, in essence, is a dry run for what you're going to do on TV.
Okay.
So if they like what you did there, do it on TV.
And then the judges liked you, obviously.
4 people standing ovation. So it was one of the few acts.
Wow. Okay, so then you advance. Does it, in your mind, become a game of, okay, I have to outdo my first trick, my first thing?
Definitely.
Like, I got to do something better. So do you purposely hold back? How do you decide what your first one is? Because you want it to knock it out of the park,
right?
But you also know you have to do better if you advance.
Oh man, yeah, and especially if you're going to make it to the end, you've gone through 6 performances, so you really can't stagger, and you don't want to leave anything on the table where you go, I'm going to leave this good one for next one if you don't make it to the next one. So Honestly, each one was a new experience. I had zero planning, so once I finished the first one, the first two that I did, are what I would describe as my bread and butter. Things that I've done thousands and thousands of times, I could do in my sleep. That's my core competency. Then as we advance in later stages, there were things that I was making up for the show, or that I was taking things that I already did but making them much bigger and much more elaborate. So for the first 2 rounds, I felt very calm and composed, because it would be kind of like, Bon Jovi singing "Living on a Prayer." It's your number one, it's your greatest hits.
Yeah. And then you have to advance.
I hoped I would advance, but each round was just, I had fun with it, and I didn't put a lot of pressure on myself, and I said, if I don't go further, no big deal. Honestly, it was not a pressured situation till later on.
Is that one of those stepping stones in your career where you kind of go from here to here?
Shockingly, yes. That show is just rocket fuel. No other TV show compares.
And then
no other TV show.
Really?
You could go on The Tonight Show. I've been on Jimmy Fallon. I've been on The Today Show. I've been on all those shows. Those shows don't have the heart element. What I mean by that is people that watch you, it's not in one ear, out the other. They root for you. So imagine the way when you watch a football game, you're rooting for a team, right? You get emotionally invested. When people watch that show, they get emotionally invested. You're their guy, or you're their girl, or you're their act. So later on, people really, when they see you a year later, 2 years later, to this day, they go, I voted for you, we loved you, our whole family. It's one of those things where nobody will ever say that to you if they saw you on like The Tonight Show. They'll be like, oh yeah, you did a cool thing, but nothing like that. The competition element is what really brings it in, and the backstories. They show a lot about your past. Things that are heart-wrenching, things that, make you, things that are kind of unique to you. So
that's a great point that I would have never thought about. If you're going to ask me, you want to go on The Tonight Show or America's Got Talent, everyone thinks The Tonight Show.
No
it's
chance.
The Tonight Show. But you're right. If you're on America's Got Talent and people are getting to know you.
Right. Both are great, but in terms of eyeballs, way more people watch America's Got Talent, and each stage that you get further, people get more and more emotionally invested in you. They will remember you for years.
So are you constantly trying to come up with, figure out new skills, new skits,
new routines and bits? Yeah. Oh yeah, all the time.
And how do you do that?
Well, I do it partially. Some of it is based on what I would describe as just pure original thinking, where you say to yourself, I think this would be cool. How could I pull that off, right? So you reverse engineer. Here's the end goal. Let's try to find a way to get there. Kind of like, think of the mouse and the cheese and the little maze, but I start from the cheese backwards. So I've got the skills to the arsenal of knowledge of, this is how I use the power of suggestion. This is how I know how people react. I've got all different skills that I combine for an end goal.
Because I imagine you don't want to steal another mentalist's or magician's routine. You want to have your unique things.
Everyone does certain versions of certain things that are kind of like the way a joke. You've probably heard people tell jokes about their wives or their kids or about going through TSA security, but everyone has a spin on it. So I would say 50% of our acts, if you meet mentalists, there's not that many, but will tend to be overlapping. People will be like, oh, I saw him do something like that. But the other 50%, you hope, signature items, things that are very unique and different.
Have you ever been on stage and one has completely bombed?
Sure, 100%.
And you either give it away or it just doesn't go as planned, and what do you do?
So honestly, if you get things wrong in a show, it makes it stronger. So if you get too many, it makes it not so strong. But if you get some things wrong, it makes the rest of the show more powerful. Think about a tightrope act. If you saw somebody walking on a tightrope, right, 10 stories up, and they just walked really quickly across, and they had the little stick and they never shook it, you'd be like, oh, that looks so easy, right? But if they start walking across, and then all of a sudden, and they go on one leg, that pit of your stomach, you feel that feeling of fear. All of a sudden, oh my God, he could fall. Do you understand what I mean? Like, it makes it real again. So if I'm doing a show in front of, call it 500 people, call it 10,000 people, and I suddenly am struggling, and I get something wrong, all of a sudden in your brain, you go, wait, he didn't just get it wrong on purpose. It makes everything else more impressive, right? Once I keep getting things right over and over and over, you just say, well, he always gets stuff right. You get bored. When you get something wrong, it's better. And the best thing is when you get something wrong and later on, you don't even realize it's going to go full circle. I meant to get it wrong, and then I prove it, or I have an even bigger finale in store.
So we're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we're going to have more with Oz Pearlman, and he's going to do some routines when we come back. We don't know what's going to happen, so stay with us.
At the Bank of Commerce, we understand the hard work, determination, and sacrifice it takes to run a successful business. That's why we're here every step of the way to help make your dreams come true. The Bank of Commerce, your bank of a lifetime.
Welcome back here to East Idaho Newsmakers. We are joined with Oz Pearlman.
I know. Looks like Oz. You got to blame my parents. It's actually a weird name. It's in Hebrew. And in Hebrew, it's Oz.
Oz Pearlman.
So I always tell people, it's like cheery Oz, or you owes me money.
Nice.
But yeah.
Okay, so we are here with Oz Pearlman, who has graciously agreed to show us some of his work. So take it away.
So let me ask you a question, Nate. How many people do you think you talk to daily? Like text, call, everything combined, between clients, family, friends?
Man, probably 20.
At least. Popular guy, don't knock yourself, but it's 50 even that you come in touch with, right? Cameraman, the hotel person. There's just a million different people you interact with. What's our mode of communication nowadays? Our phone. You lose your keys, you lose your wallet, you don't care. You lose your phone, you're like, oh, where's my phone? Grab your phone for a second.
Okay.
And I want you to hold it up because I don't want you to think I'm being nosy. It's really important. And I want you to turn it on and go to, go to your missed calls. So that's people that probably tried to call you recently, right?
Okay.
And that's probably going to most likely be primarily numbers you recognize, names of people, and then maybe one or two random numbers. You're like, I don't even know who this is.
Yep.
Now go to your contacts, please.
Okay.
And what I want you to do is start at the top. Like you probably somebody named Aaron. Not impressive, not mind reading, just AA is near the top.
Yep.
And I want you to scroll through, and you're going to do this with a bit of a mission here. I want you to look at a few names,
Okay.
and they might mean something, they might not, but then we're going to track down someone specific, kind of super random person, okay, that you don't, tell me when you're there.
Okay, I'm there.
Okay, now put it against your body, please. And let me ask you a question. When you first picked this person, there was no rhyme or reason to this. This was not like you scrolled, you stopped, you looked at this person. Now you're right there. Now, think if it's a male or female, and don't say. Now, there was just a light reaction. It wasn't huge, but I could tell. The way you went to this side, I said male, and then I said female, and then you went over. It's a female, am I right?
Yes.
I knew it. Plus, he was going to adjust his hair a little bit. I saw that. Looking good. All right. Think of her first name.
Okay.
And now your name, is your full name Nathan?
Nathaniel.
Nathaniel.
Yep.
So Nathaniel. 9 letters. Lengthy name. But you go by Nate, 4 letters.
Yep.
Think of her first name and do what I just did. Count how many letters are in it, but strictly to yourself. Please don't say it out loud.
Okay.
Took you a while to count, right? If the name was Amy, then it would have been instant. If the name was Elizabeth, it would have taken even longer. It was somewhere in the middle. See, you gave it away. You don't realize. I think it was 5 or 6 letters. Look at me. 6 letters, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Don't want to play poker with me anytime soon. You pick, not me. You pick. Here's 6 letters. Imagine they're like Scrabble tiles. And you look at those 6 letters and maybe you mix them a little and then you reach up and you just grab a letter somewhere in the middle of her name and you pluck it and you look at it. You got it?
Okay.
Now, you didn't pick a vowel, did you?
No.
Most people don't because they know there's only 5 vowels. They feel that's limiting. So you went to one right next, R. Are you thinking of an R?
Yes. How did you know that?
You think of an R.
Okay.
And see, what people do is they tend to roll their tongue. So watch. R, you have to roll your tongue. L, you have to roll your tongue. Think of something, and it's not Mary, it's Marina, isn't it?
Shut up.
Show the camera. Is it for real Marina, the person you just picked?
My phone just went off. Yes, it was.
Show them.
Right here at the top. Marina Harris.
Do you know her phone number off the top of your head or no? Of course not, right?
No.
Because probably 10 people whose numbers you know. Hold the phone close to you.
Okay.
Obviously, we don't want to give this away on TV, and I won't do any area codes. Look at her number. Make sure there's no way I could see.
Okay.
And you got to swear to them that I did not tell you to pick this person.
I swear to you.
Before we had walked in this room, we had never met before in our life.
Nope.
And that you could have scrolled one little bit further and gone to somebody different.
You're right.
I'm honestly.
Honestly, yeah. This was completely random.
Think of
no fake news here.
different story entirely.
Yeah.
Think of, I don't need you to memorize, but look at forget the area code.
Okay.
Look at the first few numbers.
Yeah.
And then look at the rest. And can you memorize all 7 or is it too much? Look at a few. Tell me how many you got in your head and
I
put
can
it
memorize
put it
it.
against your body.
Okay.
Think of the first number. Look this way, not the area code. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I already missed it. It's a 3. Does it start with a 3?
Yes.
3. Think of the next number. And you say them to me. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. So you say them to me.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0.
Is right at the end. Linger. 3 and a 9. It's 3, 9, and then it ends at 3, 9, 0. Are those the first 3 numbers?
Yes.
Is it okay if we go more? I don't know if they want to call Marina at home. You know what? How about this? I won't show anybody else but you.
God.
Think of the next number.
Okay.
Okay. So the 3 and I know, and then there's a number right there, and think of the one right after. Think if it's smaller or bigger. It's the same. Look at the number on your phone.
Keeps locking. Okay.
And then tell me, how did I do?
Close.
Yeah, close enough. What am I off by?
The 8 and the 2 are swapped.
But good enough for me. I'll take it. I'll take it. Keep it. If I got it right every time, this would be a magic show. You asked earlier, how can I know a person's number that I've never met that you just thought of?
How did you do that?
We're working on the lottery numbers. Lottery numbers next, Nate. Let's go right now. We're getting the
Sweet.
Powerball.
I'm going with
Strike
you.
while
I'm
the
going
iron
with
is
you.
hot, baby.
Dude, how? I know you can't tell us, but can you give us a hint? Can you tell us anything?
I'm not in the business of giving hints. Look, you were reading my mind. We're both in blue suits. Look at this. Twinning today.
So this is a woman that I go to church with. I don't talk too often, just randomly in my phone, not when I'm... Wow. All right.
You're going to tell her about this on church on Sunday.
I'll probably walk out of the room and call her and say, just so you know.
Marina, have you spoken to him?
So do you do that at many of your shows?
I do all different variants of this. So this is one example out of a dozen or 20 things. I like to do things that are accessible. So when I said to you, what's more impressive is not if I do something with props. If I say, get out your phone, or if I say, take out your glasses, or take out a photo of your kids, or take off your ring, right? And I'll tell you what's inscribed and what your anniversary is. So things that are very emotional and topical to you, and also very, very impossible to explain.
At what point did you say, yeah, magic's cool, but I want to go kind of a step, I look at it as a step further.
So the reason I would call it a step further is because most people that are mentalists, almost all, like 99%, started as magicians. Because it's kind of like going to medical school and then becoming, like, let's say you become a heart surgeon. So you had to be a doctor first, but then you specialized in something very, very specific. Because a lot of the craft for magic is what I use. So the same way that you would pick a card and then you would bring it back in and see what you just did there? I just want you to see. It's called misdirection. I didn't tell you to look there, but I paused, I went over there, I did that, calculate. I wanted you to look here. If you did that right then, I could have done something here that you would never have seen.
Yeah, but you didn't look at my phone.
Correct. You're trying to, but you've seen step 1. I'm on step 9 or 10.
Okay.
But what I'm saying to you is that same skill set that you use for magic is a lot of what I use in mind reading or mentalism. So I know in a game of chess, think checkers, you do this move, you do this move. In chess, I can tell you 4 steps ahead where your mind is going to go. So a lot of the time, you might think this, and you're going to switch to this, and you're going to go to that, and I know where you're going before you do because I'm the director. That's my job is to manipulate memories. That's really, and decision making. When I get in front of a crowd, so much of the time people come up to me and they go, you're not going to believe it. I was going to say purple. I swear I was going to say around the last minute I switched to green. And I'm like, I know, I'm the one who got you to do that. Like, people will swear that the way they thought was incredibly unique. But what they don't realize is that their unpredictability is what's predictable. That's what I dabble in.
You're married?
I am married.
So
I don't know what she's thinking, ever. Yeah. That's why I married her. She's got like a deflector shield, like Magneto.
Do you try, though?
No, I don't even try.
You don't even go there.
I just know when I'm in trouble.
Yes, okay.
And then I have the same problem that you do, which is, honey, where do you want to eat? Whatever I say is not going to be the place she wants to go. So I've got the same problem that all mortal men, non-mind readers do.
And what does she think of your career and how big it's become?
Well, she met me when I was still doing this, when I was a few years in, but still not, hadn't really achieved success. Started early on, but she was always amazingly supportive and helped me tremendously. Like, honestly, bounced ideas off her. She came to my show so many times the first year we were dating. God help her. She must have suffered a lot because seeing the show over and over and over, it becomes mind-numbing. You're like, I get it. He thought of Marina, and then he picked the phone number. I got it. By the 20th time, she's like, I'm over it.
Do you ever tell her how you do some of this stuff?
She knows from so much rote repetition and also from being around it. She knows a lot. She doesn't know everything. Occasionally, it's very satisfying when she sees something. She goes, how'd you do that? And I'm like, I'm not telling.
So she kind of figures that on her own. Or
well, she knows because there's basic building blocks.
I see.
So once you know enough building blocks, it's kind of like if you did card tricks. In card tricks, there's probably like 20 moves that once you know them, you can do 90% of card tricks. Now the other 10% is where the really legendary people are, right? The 10% that you won't know you can fool all your other friends and all the other magicians in the world with. So it's once you achieve a certain level, the same with mentalism. How do we come up with new bits? A lot of us are good friends with each other. We know each other, not just locally. I'm talking international. I could tell you the names and get out my phone and call mentalists that are the #1 in their country all over the world, like in most continents, South America, Israel, South Africa, I know a guy, Australia, like we all, Asia, like we know each other because there's not that many of us, and we bounce ideas because we know that it's kind of like if you were in a union where we all trust each other, and it's more collaborative than it is competitive, because there's more demand than there is supply, by far. There's not as many of us as there are events to do, knock on wood.
Yeah.
But for now, there's not that many people that have taken the time.
So we got about a minute or two left. There's going to be kids watching. They
Yeah.
say, I want to do what he does.
Totally.
What would your advice be to them?
My advice is you can't get there, you can't kind of run before you learn to crawl and then walk. So the key is, I always recommend a little bit of magic first. Buy a book on magic or buy a video and start learning some sleight of hand, because it's a performance art, which means that if you get that rush, the first time you do a card trick for your mom, your dad, or your best buddy, or your brother or sister, and they pick something, they put it back, and you do it and they're amazed, you're gonna know instantly if you get that high. There's no other way to describe it, of loving to perform. And then if you do, you just need to improve slowly but surely. And most people, they see what I do and they're like, well, that looked really easy, just tell me how you did that. And I'm like, well, there's 20 years that got me to where it looks easy, right? It's kind of like when you see a gymnast who does like flips, and I'm like, how do you do that? And they're like, well, first learn to just do a cartwheel. So pick up some introductory books. There's a website that I used to make videos for. They're called penguinmagic.com. They're one of the best online. They have awesome intro videos, great Christmas presents for anybody thinking. They have such good stuff. There's tons of other websites. That's just one that I've worked for, so I know the quality of their product. I can vouch for it. And 20, 30 bucks, you get a huge video with tons of stuff to get you started.
Oz Pearlman is with us. It's spelled O-Z, so if you look it up online, it's like Oz.
It's like the Wizard of Oz, but O's.
Oz, and I'm going to try to figure out all night long how he did that with my phone. Thanks for being here with us on East Idaho Newsmakers.
Thanks, Nate.
We hope you'll be back, and we hope you have a great week.
East Idaho Newsmakers is brought to you by the Bank of Commerce, your bank of a lifetime.